I swore that I was not going to do this. After the disappointment that was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I swore I would not get sucked back into those games ever again. But then, earlier today, we got the first look at those games running on the Switch 2, and I think I might be going back for more after all. If you haven't seen the trailer, go look at it now. The footage you're seeing in this video is from the Switch 1, so it's not doing what I'm going to be talking about justice. You truly need to go see the footage that was released on Nintendo earlier today, and see how this game looks running on the Switch 2. It truly does look like a world of difference. Like a brand new game, maybe. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this might be the game changer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that we've been waiting for. If you go and watch the trailer, you'll see just how much brighter and more alive the world looks. For one, there is way more Pokemon on the screen at any given moment. No more Pokemon popping up in front of you 2 feet away or clipping in and out in the background. It actually looks like a real world populated with Pokemon living and doing their own thing. And of course, the biggest change, from what I can tell in the trailer, is the frame rate. From what I've seen, this game is now running at a flawless 60 frames per second. Alright, maybe flawless is a little much because we really need to get our hands on the game ourselves to really see how it runs and see when it dips and when it doesn't and all that sort of thing. But from what we've seen in this trailer, granted this very curated trailer, it is running at a flawless 60 frames per second. Something that we have never gotten in the modern Pokemon era, and something that, like I said, this might sound hyperbolic, but could be a real game changer. As you know, if you've seen any of my other videos, I have been very critical of Scarlet and Violet in the past, but they always did have some bright spots. I mean, the story was actually really good and went to some surprisingly dark places, and like I've said before, they did work as a really solid proof of concept of what an open world Pokemon game could look like. They just happened to be marred with some of the worst performance issues that we have ever seen in such a high profile game. But the foundation there, there was always something there. And if these games didn't run like total shit, then I really do think Scarlet and Violet could have had a much better reception than they did. In other words, it looks like maybe they might be getting a shot at redemption here. If the Switch 2 version of these games really do look as good as what we saw in that trailer, I mean, this could change everything for the legacy of these games. And look, I know sometimes as Pokemon fans, our expectations are low. Maybe we should be holding these games to a higher standard and be more critical of Game Freak in general. But the truth is, these Pokemon games are like nothing else on the market. Sure, there are plenty of copycat games and other monster collecting options, but nothing compares to the fun and the feel of an actual full-on Pokemon experience. That's why Scarlet and Violet were so disappointing. I mean, we only get these experiences every couple of years, and it felt like we were kind of robbed of that of this generation with Scarlet and Violet because, in my opinion, the performance issues were so bad. I mean, the games were borderline unplayable at times. So now, it's almost like maybe we're getting a brand new Pokemon game this weekend when the Switch 2 comes out. Maybe we can dive back into Scarlet and Violet and all the time that was cut short with those games because of how bad they ran. It's almost like we get to do a do-over of that. So I'm very excited. Like I said, I understand that we set the bar maybe a little bit too low for Game Freak at times, right? I mean, it's 2025 and we're rejoicing and celebrating over the fact that it looks like they might be giving us a game at 60 frames per second, right? Which, with the art style they used, should have been very achievable on the Switch 1, you would imagine. But hey, better late than never. And again, take all this with a grain of salt, because this is a very curated trailer. It might not be nearly this good when it releases. But if it does, like I said, this is a big deal. Up until this morning, I had my plan of attack for Switch 2 launch weekend pretty ironed out, right? I was going to spend most of my time with Mario Kart World, and then I was going to dedicate the rest of it to a lot of Legend of Zelda. With the Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 version and Wind Waker on the GameCube NSO offerings, I mean, Zelda was going to take up a lot of my time. Tears of the Kingdom and Wind Waker are probably two of my favorite games of that series, so I was going to be dedicating a lot of time to them this weekend. But now my very Pokemon-coded brain is kind of taking over, and after playing a little bit of Mario Kart World, I think I might be spending a lot more time with my old version of Pokemon Violet than I initially thought. I think Pokemon Violet was the first game where I didn't put hundreds of hours in. After putting like 300 hours in Pokemon Shield, I'm pretty sure I put like 30 into Violet. So there's a lot of untapped game time there for me to explore. And it runs as good as this trailer looks. I think my next couple of weeks might be kind of accounted for now. So we will see. Again, I realize that the bar is set pretty low, and maybe we shouldn't be going crazy for this trailer. But like I said, there really is nothing like these Pokemon games out there when they hit. And it's like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are getting a second chance at life now. And I, for one, am pretty excited about it. So love to hear from you guys. Are you excited for these versions as well? Am I giving Game Freak way too much credit here for what looks to be a patch that should have come years and years earlier? Or are you in the same boat as I am and just excited to maybe explore these worlds in much better resolution with much better frame rates? So let me know your thoughts, and I will talk to you guys on the next video. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. See you later.